Alright, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 2, Watanagashi. Let's get back into it. The rumors, once quieted, blossomed in flowers again at lunchtime. I could hear a few different conversations. They were mostly related to the mayor's disappearance. Summing them all up, I came out with this. Yesterday evening, the mayor went to a meeting at the Shrine's Assembly Hall. The meeting ended after the sun had fully set and everyone left. The elder's house was a bit far from the center of Hinamizawa. It was already late and Hinamizawa doesn't have a lot of light outside. Nobody saw the mayor after the meeting. However, because he would have been hungry, he wouldn't have taken any side trips. He would have gone straight home. However, no matter how long his family waited, he never returned. Some thought there might have been an accident. They left no stone unturned. They searched from the irrigation channels to the water wells, and even in the rice paddies, but they didn't find him. Of course, there was a limit to how far they could search in the middle of the night. The police were going to wait for daylight, then have the young men of the town help search. If after all that they still didn't find him, they were apparently going to go looking in the mountains. Even now, at this moment, the adults were probably all searching for him. The more they searched in vain, and the more time passed, the only thing that came to mind was the curse. The rumors of Onikakushi, of the demoning away. Had he become this year's sacrifice to Oyashiro-sama's curse, which had recently been occurring every year? That scary possibility, which everybody thought about, but nobody could say aloud, was slowly but surely spreading throughout the village. Was he demoned away and offered as a sacrifice to quell Oyashiro-sama's anger? My classmates were whispering to each other that the curse didn't happen this year, so there shouldn't have been any sacrifices. I, on the other hand, I knew. The curse did happen again this year, and there were 2 people that died. This may sound strange, but I hadn't exactly thought the elder would be the one to go missing. My reason was clear. Shion and I have been a high priority than him. The 4 of us were thieves that broke the taboo and set foot into the sacred ritual storehouse. If Tometake-san and Takano-san had suffered mysterious deaths, then it should have been mine and Shion's turn next. This time should have been Shion and me, eh? I laughed painfully to myself. I yelled at Shion over the phone that I didn't want to end up in such a terrifying situation, but now that someone other than me had disappeared, I could only think that I should have been the first to go. Onigafuchi, the bottomless swamp, said to have been the place where they drowned sacrifices long ago. Just as it ran through my thoughts, the villagers must have also considered the swamp. Maybe police divers were plumbing its depths even now. They probably wouldn't find anyone. Not a single missing person had ever been found. They'd always suspected Onigafuchi, but not once have they ever turned up a corpse from it. After all, it was a devilish, bottomless swamp from which no one sinks can ever return. I could hear someone telling their friend that in the classroom. Now that you mention it, Satoshi-san, he left around this time last year, didn't he? Huh? Satoshi? I've heard that name before. He was right. He disappeared because of last year's curse. Their conversation happening in the seat next to me, so I could hear it clearly. Didn't we search the whole village like this for Satoshi-san too? We didn't find him either. What did we decide that was? A demoning away, right? Yeah. I heard he withdrew all of his savings and ran away from home. Someone from the police said there was someone who saw him get on that bullet train at Nagoya Station. Ran away, huh? I wasn't that interested in the reason, which seemed understandable in this case. Everyone else who disappeared had their own reasons, too. Either they were still on the run because they were criminals, or they were a corpse that couldn't be found. It's not like any of them suddenly disappeared into thin air for no reason. But they disappeared. Someone disappeared whenever the curse took a life as if by design. They may have had various understandable reasons, but they still disappeared. From that point of view, it really might have been a demoning away this time. The mayor's disappearance was the first such incident without a clear reason behind it. Of course, coming to that realization didn't help to resolve anything.
It looks like I messed up the seasoning today. Sorry.
Normally, Reina would have devoured her lunch immediately, but today there was still a ton left. That wasn't because Reina's lunch didn't taste good or anything, though.
That isn't the case. Your lunch today is delicious as always.
Satoko dips her chopstick into Reina's bento box and pulls bits of food out, one after the other.
Yes, delicious indeed. Today in particular, in fact.
Chomp, chomp.
Ha 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 ha. Huh? You know those are pumpkin croquettes, right? Are you okay?
Yes. If it's your pumpkin, then it's delicious. Does Satoko dislike pumpkin? Regardless, she forced herself to smile and shoved more into her mouth. Everyone knew. Nobody's lunch tasted very good today. Satoko kept shoveling it down, repeating her remark on how good it was. If it's that good, then I guess I've got to have some too. Satoko's gonna eat all if we let her. It's just so good, so I would certainly like it if Keiichi-san were to eat some as well. Well, sometimes I have to show my adult generosity, right? Okay, don't hold back on my account. Eat enough for the both of us today. She really, really hated pumpkin, didn't she? That made it all the more touching to see Satoko's own brand of generosity. I grabbed her head and started stroking it. Satoko, in a somewhat exaggerated fashion, was bawling tears streaming down her face. No way. You'll never grow up if you give away such good food. Reina, you eat too. I only have leftover vegetable stew, but it tastes great after having sat overnight. Yeah, the daikon radish has such a pretty color going through it. It looks delicious. I guess I'll have some then. Reina reached out with her chopsticks, and at the last, the unusual lunchtime atmosphere began to return. That was only at our desks, however. The dark tales of Oishira-sama's curse, which had recurred for 5 years in a row, didn't cease. The whole classroom remained stuck in this somber mood. Oishira-sama's curse had happened for 5 years straight. Everyone had wanted the previous year to be the last. What was Oyashira-sama's curse anyway? They were going to build a dam in Hinamizawa. The people building it were bad, so they were cursed. I would admit that much. Still, the dam project was frozen years ago, wasn't it? So why was the curse stubbornly persisting? I hit myself on the cheeks to perk myself back up. Everyone was trying so hard to brighten the mood. I couldn't go straight back to thinking about the curse like that. I forced the grim story out of my head. Driving Oyashira-sama's curse out of my thoughts was actually a good idea. In the end, that meant I would also be driving away the most terrifying thought of all, that I could be the curse's next target. Mion's taking a while, isn't she? How long does it take to wash your hands? Mion had said she was gonna go wash her hands and left, and she hasn't come back yet.
Ha 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 ha. She's probably taking a little afternoon nap somewhere.
I think she was up pretty late last night, looking for the mayor after all. I smiled wryly and let out a sigh. Today was no good. However, much we tried to lighten the mood, things always came back to the mayor. It was just a no-good day. I had just transferred here recently, so the shock of a curse happening 5 years running was an unimaginably big one. Maybe I do need to appreciate that. When Michan was little, the mayor would always spoil her. When she was going through her prankster phase, he loved her like his own daughter. She's told me that often. I see. Mion was in shock too. Someone disappearing at all because of a curse was a scary thing. If the sacrifice was someone you knew, though, then the shock must be 100 times worse. Satoko, as if she'd come up to the same conclusion, bit her lower lip and looked downward. Oh, Rika-Chan is taking a while too. Maybe they're taking a nice afternoon nap together? Rika wasn't out that late. As soon as she yawned, everyone gathered around her and started saying good night, good night. Now that she mentioned it, there were a lot of old people rubbing their prayer beads in fervent gratitude towards Rika-Chan during the festival too. An image of the indulgent elderly came to mind. Had Rika-Chan discovered a way to get herself to be pampered like that? Is there a reason the old people treat Rika-Chan like an idol? Is she their ideal image of a granddaughter or something?
I don't know anything about that. But I want to see Rika-Chan yachting.
It's probably all like, Fwah!
How? I want to take her home.
Ooh. Oh, that talk about yawning made me yawn. I don't personally think it's that cute. It's more like, Gwa! And she opens her mouth really wide so you can see the back of her throat.
Her throat? The thing in her throat? Oh, wobbly. How?
Rain is handy at times like these. I finally managed a heartfelt laugh. Oh, right. I'm on day duty today, aren't I? I need to go water the flower garden. The garden is right outside the teacher's lounge, too, so they can immediately tell if you don't do it right.
I think Satoko-chan is cute. Not only Rika-chan. Uvula. Can't breathe. How? I got a glimpse. It was so cute.
Satoko-chan is cute, too.
I was gonna take you home.
Reina was squeezing her hand around Satoko's neck and was trying to get a look into her throat. You know, Reina is... I can't say it out loud, but she's a notorious censored, isn't she? Sweat. Hearing Satoko made a weird noise like a chicken being strangled was kind of hilarious, and I couldn't help but laugh. At some point, the classroom had erupted into laughter too. Maybe Reina was doing it on purpose. Even if she wasn't, this nonsense was a welcome sight. Anyway, let's get over the flowers while I still have time. Slowly and quietly, lest I destroy the room's newfound peace, I left the classroom. The watering can was hanging up outside the kitchen. The building had originally been an all-male forestry service building, so there was apparently nothing so thoughtful as a garden here before. When they decided to have a school share the space, they built one there as a modest gesture of appreciation. But, well, the flower bed, it was a little longer than you'd expect. It went all around. It went all over the place. It was so big, one would need to refill the watering can 5 or 6 times to get it all done. I was doing this together with a kid who was also, thankfully, on day duty today. She was in the lowest grade, though, and had a full size smaller than even Rika-chan. I couldn't make a kid who would struggle just to lift the full watering can help me out with this. For this, if one was placed on day duty with someone liked, they'd do it all for you, so it'd be cake. No point in blaming her. I give up. No point in blaming her. I give up. I'll just get started. Watering can in hand, just as I was about to leave the building, the old man from the forestry office addressed me. Sonny, there's a vegetable garden behind the workhouse, right? Or warehouse, right? It's all just about dried up. Water that too, would you? Oh, you mean the curry vegetable garden? The one with the potatoes and carrots and other things that are only ingredients for curry? It's definitely the personal garden of our curry-loving teacher, but making students responsible for its upkeep is getting them involved in her personal affairs. I couldn't say that to his face, though, so I gave up and decided to carry out my day duties. The sunlight out front was strong. The great chorus of cicadas was strongly underlining how nothing was different today than yesterday. I passed by the classroom, and I didn't know how it happened, but Reina and Satoko were in the middle of a huge melee. While I was gone, the kids had arranged all the desks in a circle forming a ring, while everyone was cheering them on. Yeah, that's how it should be. Once school ended, we would need to return to reality, where talk of the elders' disappearance would once again be all over the place. I wanted everyone to forget about everything and have fun, just like yesterday, if only while they were at school. In that sense, Satoko's whirling elbow and Reina's backwards flying spin kick made for a pleasant sight. even if, as a result, they flipped over my desk. Ah, that's my pencil box! Gah. I'll just let it happen today. I set to work hastily watering everything, wanting nothing more than to be done as soon as possible. That should about do it. No sooner had I thought that than I remembered that I had to water the teacher's curry vegetable garden too. That's such a pain, but I have a feeling it'll come back to bite me if I don't. I gave up, filled the can with water again, and headed behind the warehouse. This was a place students didn't like to go. It was always damp here, and you couldn't discard the possibility of slugs and pill bugs being around. So when I ran across her in a place like that, I was surprised. Whoa! Oh, it's Rika-Chan. Don't scare me like that. Rika-Chan was just standing there like a puppet devoid of life. I was the only one who startled her. I was the only one who was startled here. Rika-Chan didn't even seem to react to my appearance. Rika-Chan? Finally, she noticed me. Her expression was clearly abnormal. There was red under her eyes, stained with tears and dirt. There were blades of grass stuck in her hair, too, and her clothes looked as though she'd fallen to the ground. Rika-Chan? Are you hurt? Did you fall? No, that isn't it, Rika-Chan said in the brightest voice she could manage as she rubbed her eyes. She didn't look anywhere near normal, though. What happened? You weren't sleeping on the storehouse roof and then fell off or anything, did you? Don't worry about me. I have something I want to ask you, Keiichi. Rika-Chan walked over and clung to me. At first, I thought she was playing a trick on me. Eventually, however, I realized it was so that I couldn't run away from the question she was about to ask. I shuddered. What? What did you want from me? She looked straight into my eyes. Her upturned eyes bored right into mine. It was as though they were trying to pull the answer out of my own eyes without actually asking me the question. It was scary, so I averted my eyes from her. Keiichi, did you do something bad on the night of the festival? My body gave a jolt from its very core. Rika-Chan, who was clinging to me, might have felt my shiver. A nervous tingle crawled up from my feet, and after going up my back and freezing my entire body, it made its way into my brain. Keiichi, do you really not remember? My head began to throb. I don't understand anything. Mion asked me. Oishi-san asked me. Shion asked me. And now Rika-Chan was asking me. We thought nobody knew about what we did last night, but in fact, everyone knew? They all knew, and they came to ask me. Again and again until I admitted it. When I thought about it, it was pretty clear the whole thing was out in the open. After all, don't Tametake-san's and Takano-san's deaths prove it? Keiichi, how should I respond? We never should have entered the Forbidden Storehouse, and even though I regretted it so much, was she saying it wasn't enough? However, I had all but decided what I was going to say. I'm not exactly a good kid, you know. I've done lots of bad things, so I can't remember anything specific. Just as I had with all the others, I evaded the question. Rika-Chan stared at me with innocent eyes. Her eyes were so painful that I had to look away. After a few moments of mutual silence, Rika-Chan released me. I'm sorry for asking you something strange. Please forget about it, she said, smiling her usual smile. Then, tap, 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 tap. She went off running, as nothing had happened. As she retreated in silence, I could feel her accusing me. Rika-Chan! If she didn't hear my voice, then I was going to give up. However, she heard it. Rika-Chan swiveled around and waited for me to continue. I was the one who had questions now. Still, asking any of them could just be a half-assed way of admitting what I did. Hey, Rika-Chan. What is it? If everyone knows anyway, then I should be able to at least ask this, right? Why is everyone asking me about the night of the festival? That evening. Had I done something that wrong? I felt plenty sorry about it, and I only looked away. I didn't break anything. I only looked. Anyway, I didn't break anything or steal anything. Really? Still, Tometake-san and Takano-san, they died so miserably. Since those two had come to such an end, there's obviously no way it would forgive only me. Rika-Chan cutely tilted her head in confusion and waited for me to say something. If I were to admit what happened that night, though, she might suddenly do a 180 as if flipping a switch. That would make sense. Rika-Chan was the Shrine Maiden. She was the least likely to forgive me for breaking the taboo, wasn't she? Upon reflection, wouldn't telling her be more terrifying than telling Mion or Oishi-san? Rika-Chan could just give up and leave, couldn't she? She didn't. She only was quietly waiting for me to say it myself. Say it, Keiichi Maebara. If you really are sorry, then you should say so. Of course, it's normal to hesitate given the crazy way Tometake-san and Takano-san died. A pulping machine called Chaos was grinding up my brain. The juice wrung out of it turned into big droplets of sweat which began to fall. Keiichi! Rika-Chan suddenly straightened up, trying to pat me on the head. I don't really understand what you're worried about, Keiichi. I had nothing to say to that. I lowered my head a little so that Rika-Chan's palm could reach it. She petted me, kind of like one would a cat. Do you know about the big storehouse a little way behind the shrine grounds? It stores the implements we use for rituals. My breath literally stopped. Rika-Chan, though, wasn't acting in a coercive way at all. Apparently, on the night of the festival, a cat snuck into the storehouse. A cat? Yes, a cat. Meow meow. Rika-Chan knew. She realized I was in fear. I could tell she was desperately trying to choose the right words so that she wouldn't scare me. The cat always wanted to explore inside the storehouse, but I was mean to it and never let it go inside. So, on the night of the festival, the cat couldn't hold itself back any longer and went inside. The cat. It was clearly supposed to be Takano-san. Or, wait, was it supposed to be me? Inside, there were actually a lot of things that scared the cat. Rika-Chan made a cute gesture like a ghost was coming out to frighten me. The cat was both terrified and amazed. It ran away as fast as it could. Clatter, clatter, shiver, shiver, meow, meow. It was terrible. This cat. Who are you saying it was? The cat is a cat. Meow, meow. Rika-Chan still avoided saying it. The cat, though, was without a doubt me. Rika-Chan, please tell me. The cat, what should it do now? Maybe it was a desperate question to ask. I had sort of admitted to being the cat. The cat is just a cat, so it can keep meowing and everything will be fine. Everything will be fine? That's stupid. Shouldn't it just keep meowing? Geez, Rika-Chan and I have put together an entire conversation using cat as a code word. I didn't say it directly, but I had already admitted it. I didn't want to end up like those two. I didn't want to be a sacrifice like Shion said. That's what I thought, so I stubbornly remained silent. But now, that's enough. It can't just keep meowing. The dog saw the cat making mischief and sneaking inside. The dog? That's right. It was the dog. It keeps coming to the cat and trying to get it to say that it snuck inside. After I said that, Rika-Chan's expression clouded over. She was trying to hide it, but I'd already noticed her eyes darkening. Rika-Chan. The silence was frightening, so I spurred her on. At that point, Rika-Chan grinned. It's all right. I'll protect the cat. Huh? I thought for a moment that I had misheard those words, so dependable they were. The cat is really scared, but it really isn't that bad. I think all the dogs are just misunderstanding.
Eh? It's not all that bad. The cat is worrying too much. I'll do something about it for sure. Rika-Chan will do something about it? I don't even know left from right at the moment, so Rika-Chan didn't look all that dependable. It might be hard, but I'll do my best. Go for it. Yay! She clenched her fist and stuck it in the air. Rika-Chan said that the cat can just keep meowing. She said to leave it all to her. Is that really all it took to resolve this whole thing? Will you really be alright, Rika-Chan? If I don't do my best, then something bad could happen to the dogs too. I had no idea what Rika-Chan was talking about anymore. She had been talking to me under the assumption that I was aware of certain things, so at first I understood her. Around the middle, though, I stopped understanding anything. However, one thing I did know was to not worry and to leave it to her. Rika-Chan straightened up once again, patted me on the head, and smiled. I was so moved by that reassuring feeling that I couldn't help but start to cry. I'm sorry. The cat, it really was just a little bit of mischief. It didn't think any of this would... It's too much of a scaredy cat. That's why I should never have seen the storehouse. She was right. It was far too shocking for someone to see based on a little bit of interest alone. That's why they made it so difficult to look at in the first place, wasn't it? Rika-Chan, what will happen to the cat? Two of the cats that snuck in, well, that night they... I'd heard Tomitake-san and Takano-san's deaths were being kept a secret. Rika-Chan might not have known about it. Tomitake and Takano? I gave a start at the sudden mention of actual names. Though it's weird to do that at this point. You should forget about them. My spine froze again. Forget? Yes. It won't do any good to remember those two, Keiichi. The more you think about it, the scarier it will get. So you should forget about them as soon as possible. She said something so enormously terrifying without letting the smile on her face waver at all. I don't know where you heard about it from, but you should forget everything. Make sure your mind is as clean as a scrubbed bathtub. Forget? Rika-Chan, you know, don't you? You know how those two died. No matter how they died, it has nothing to do with you, Keiichi. Rika declared this in a flat voice. Nothing to do with me. So forget about it. The girl before me, she was innocent and lovable and even seemed trustworthy, but suddenly she took on another dimension. Don't get involved with their deaths. I'll help you, Keiichi. Those two contradictory statements twisted and distorted my image of the girl in front of me. What about Shion? What'll happen to her? It might have been dangerous to mention Shion's name, but I couldn't stop myself from asking. Rika-Chan saw through everything anyway. There was no way I was going to fool her or keep anything from her at this point. The younger of the sister cats? Meow meow? Yeah, the little sister cat. Rika-Chan appeared to think upon this for a moment. It was hard for me to endure even this momentary silence. The big sister cat is angry. The little sister cat did something bad, so she's really mad. The big sister cat. That could only mean Mion. I recall being questioned by her yesterday. Keiichi, the big sister cat is not in such a good mood at all. I think we should leave her alone for a while. Not in a good mood. Those words sent a shiver through me. Mion was mad. She was mad that we entered the ritual storehouse. Let's stop having club from now on. Huh? Why? I think we should leave her alone. Rika-Chan ended her sentence with such force that I couldn't say anything in response. Hey, Keiichi Maebara, don't disobey Rika-Chan. She's the only one who said she'll help me right now. I'll leave things to her just as she said to. I mean, she even said that the cat should just keep meowing. I'll forget everything like she said. I'll leave everything to her. I'll forget everything about Takano-san and Tomitake-san and what I did that night.
Just then, we heard a bell far away marking the end of our lunch break. I guess we should get back to class. Keiichi. As if she had noticed how miserable I was about to leave everything to her and flee the scene, Rika-Chan called out to stop me. If the misunderstanding dog comes to try and bite the cat, please tell me, okay? The misunderstanding dog. She put it in such a cute-sounding way, but the true meaning behind those words was an eerie one. Who is the misunderstanding dog? The dog that bit the mayor. I don't know why it did that. If it was gonna bite anyone, it would have been the trickster cat first. The flow of blood in my body felt like completely stopped for a moment. Rika-Chan had admitted it. The sacrifices of that terrible calamity. She admitted that if they were to happen again, it would be Shion or I. I didn't know what was true about the girl standing before me. My suspicion gave way to fear and nearly began to change into anger. Was she a savior who would protect me? Or a stranger trying to capture and kill me for the sake of a horrible tradition? I had no idea what was true. I'm sorry. The cat is already scared, and I said something to scare it even more. I'm really sorry. Rika-Chan bowed so quickly it looked like her head had been pulled downward. Still, she was right. I was cowering. I could distinctly feel my body shaking violently. So when Rika-Chan reached her hand out to pat me on the head, I pulled away without thinking. I'm so... Rika-Chan made a very sad face, but I couldn't just bring myself to put out my head for her again. That day, Rika-Chan said she wasn't feeling up for club activities that day, so she suggested we not bother. And with that, that's where I'm going to end this episode. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!